Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis and today it's Mortarions Hammer time. So detachment review for Mortarions Hammer. Mortarions Hammer here you can see, and a lot of vehicles of course for this detachment. With no further ado, let's get started. So today, 29th of May, I've already done a detachment review for Deathlord Chosen, the one that I was instinctively drawn to, Taliban Summoner and Varland Victorium. I'm 1 for 3 for Deathlord Chosen. I've tried to tweak my list and I played yesterday versus demons. It was really a slaughter more than a battle. At the end, I was successful, but yeah, my opponent also maybe was a bit too kind at the point in the game. So thanks for the good game. So as I said in this video, looking at Mortarions Hammer, we look at the detachment rule, the enhancements, the stratagems, and then some combos, ideas, and plays, or how to build around this detachment. Some math, as always, in the channel, some example list, and then the summary and final thoughts. Before I start, always a very special thanks to all my YouTube member GeneralJannis supporters. Thank you really for your extra support for myself and my computer to do all the math and bring you the analysis so you don't have to. So looking at the Mortarions Hammer detachment rule, I think this is a strong detachment rule and it's interesting and it has a lot of benefits with other army rules and detachments and units and so on, data sheets. So the detachment rule is the miasmic bombardment, and at the start of the battle round you can select a number of enemy units that are more than 12 inches away from every model from your army, and they are afflicted until the next battle round. And for a strike force, typically 2000 point game, you can select 2 units here. So they must be further away than 12 inches. This is not, if they are within, let's say 12 inches, there is a big chance they already are afflicted from our plague contagion, Nurgle's gift. And this is a strong benefit. One of the first that we can think of is Deathshroud can deep strike 6 inches away of afflicted units. If we can select 2, we can create a pocket maybe on the table where we can maybe on the enemy's let's say soft home territory, where we maybe pick 2 units and then we can deep strike at 6 inches. So the opponent has to be mindful of that. A lot of unit get extra benefits, let's say shooting at something that's already afflicted, and there are a lot of combos. For example, the Plague Burst Crawlers, Mortar, Spores, they benefit from shooting at something that is afflicted. The Malignant Playcaster, Hellbrood, etc., Blight Lords, everything basically benefits, and all our units would be benefit that the enemy is -1 save or -1 to be hit or has minus leadership move or objective control. So it's like an automatic you are afflicted thing. So the main question here probably, will we go full vehicles? Do we want to, because some of the infantry like Deathshroud and something like that can also benefit quite a lot from Mortarions Hammer. Looking now at the enhancements, so we have 4 enhancements here, and I think the most important one is the Tendrilous Emission. This is for 20 points, and we give it to a Lord of Virulence. He can get lone operative when he's within 3 inches of our death card vehicles, and when the vehicles shoot, if they are within 3 inches here, they can reroll once to wound. So Lord of Virulence already with Blight Bombardment, he can give reroll once to hit or reroll all to hit versus a specific target that he Blight bombards, and when he also has the Tendrilous Emission, we also reroll once to wound. That would benefit, as I show you in the math, every vehicle that is shooting that's close to the Lord of Virulence, but the Lord of Virulence has to be able to see the target, of course. And I think this is a must take for this detachment for 20 points, and in this allows us somehow to have a Lord of Virulence without a bodyguard tax. You can also add some bodyguards. You could take, let's say, a small unit of Blight Lord or 3 Deathshroud to keep him protected. And as I said, Lord of Virulence, very strong combo anyway with our vehicles and especially blast weapons, and it got even better in this detachment. Then we have 3 other enhancements that are a bit more like, will you ever bring this type of models that they make sense? So for example, for the Eye of Affliction, it's quite expensive, 20 points, and the bearers unit range weapons get ignore cover. Okay, that's okay, but it's let's say maybe for Plague Marines or Blight Lords, and probably maybe you will not bring Plague Marines or Blight Lords. So this detachment, the Deathshroud already ignore cover. And if you have a lot of Irelands with Blight Lords, probably Tendrilous Emission is better. The Shrieksworn Familiar, once per battle round you can overwatch for 0 command point. That's okay. For the Deathshroud with the gauntlets, you could add it, let's say if you have a lot of contagion there, and then they can that's quite okay. Blight Lords if they have Spewers or Plague Marines, etc. So if we have 15 points to spare and we are bringing Deathshroud or something with Spewers, we can consider this. And the Bilemo Blight, for a Malignant Playcaster, he gets plus 12-inch range to his shooting. But again, are you bringing any Playcaster in this detachment? Looking now at the stratagems, a lot of them are of course centered around vehicles, and we start with the most interesting, in my opinion, the Relentless Grind. And in the move or the charge phase, a Death Guard vehicle can move through terrain. So this can be really strong for if you're playing a lot of heavy terrain and heavy ruin maps. So the Defiler, for example, that's very bulky, even if it can pass some low height terrain. If you can just go through the ruins, this is really strong to come in for a charge, or the 30 blow drones to get to line of sight, or Playboy Scrollers, or whatever our vehicle we need to go through a ruin and not get around. This can be a really strong stratagem. Could be an interesting thing if you a bit not as use the Land Raiders, but if we have a Land Raider filled with let's say 6 Deathshroud and a leader, they can maybe just blaze through some things and deliver their infantry close to the unsuspecting target. But okay, if it's Deathshroud, probably they will be deep striking anyway. It could also be used for a Rhino to go through something and deliver the Plague Marines. The Font of Filth, for 1 command point in the shooting phase, you can give a Death Guard vehicle assault for its weapon. So it's always helpful to have this in the bag, that you can able to advance to go to some place or within range of something and to be able to shoot anyway. The Mephitic Blightholder could benefit from this to get into Melta range if you are not really close. So this always would help to have the possibility to shoot after advancing. The Drawn to Despair, in the shooting phase, this can also be potentially strong. So a Death Guard unit attacking a target in the opponent's deployment can reroll the hit roll. So basically Lord of Virulence Blight Bombardment for blast weapons that's probably the same. But if you're shooting into but the target has to be visible, so it doesn't work for the Plaguebear Scroller indirect fire. Otherwise this would have been extremely strong. And if maybe you have something you want reroll on one side where Lord of Virulence can see, and the other shoots something into the opponent's deployment zone that they can see. Of course, this can be helpful in situations. The Blighted Land is expensive. It's for 2 points. So at the end of movement, 1 Death Guard vehicle can afflict a terrain feature, and every unit within 3 inches get afflicted until our next turn. This is a bit expensive for 2 command points, and we cannot combine it with a Deepstriking Deathshroud because it's at the end of movement where they should have already come down, and we already have the Detachment Rule to afflict the things that we can't reach, let's say. But it could be useful situationally to spread some more contagion. But for 2 command points, I think you have to think really hard about that one. The Ice Stinger Storm, in the opponent's command phase, a Death Guard vehicle that can see an objective marker can force afflicted enemies to take leadership tests, and this a battle shock, let's say. So this can be useful to steal an objective before the opponent's scoring. So maybe if you are already in this, maybe you have one of your vehicles in this objective and you're contesting it, maybe if you can force a leadership test, it could be quite useful in situations. And the Stinking Mire, for 1 command point in the opponent's charge phase, 1 Death Guard vehicle is minus 2 inch to be charged. And this can be really helpful to hopefully not allow your enemy to block your blow with launcher or let's say the Plaguebear Scroller or something like this. So it could be interesting. Some of the enemy armies are very fast, so maybe they will be coming so close that it doesn't make sense, but sometimes it can be really, if the enemy deep strikes at 9 inch, you can use this, and it's very difficult for them to make their charge. So this is also a strong stratagem. Now looking at list building ideas and combos and things like that, I think, yes, as I said, Lord of Virulence with the Tendrilous Emission is a perfect match for this detachment, with his Blight Bombardment rule, rerolling that he points things and the rest of the army gets the benefit of rerolls. The Detachment Rule to afflict the enemies, as we said, from distance can create maybe some opportunities and some pockets where we can deep strike our Deathshroud with Lord of Contagion. Give them maybe the Overwatch enhancement for 15 points, but the Deathshroud with Lord of Contagion are really a killer strong unit in our current codex. Interesting maybe in this detachment to use a heavy fire base of flavor scrollers, shooting at something that's afflicted and causing mortal wounds with the spores on top. It's a bit expensive. 3 of them are a bit less than 600 points, but it could be interesting in this detachment. They can hold your backline. They have the entropy cannons if something comes closer and you need to shoot it, and just bombarding and bullying your opponent's home territory could be interesting. And then in general, basically for the Mortarions Hammer, our vehicles with Lord of Virulence, the 30 Bloatron with the launcher, Mephitic Blightholder, Defiler, Predators, everything, the classic 30 Bloatrons as well. We can advance and still be able to shoot. We can move, advance and charge through terrain, for example, for the Defiler. For melee options, if we take a lot of vehicles and we don't have so much infantry, maybe we have to consider the Defiler, which is very strong in melee, or the Mortar drone, or we have the Terminators, the Deathshroud Terminators for melee. And if you want to build something more crazy build, maybe some transports with infantry that can move through terrain for the laughs, maybe. But I think basically keeping to a lot of vehicles and Terminator Deathshroud will probably be the strongest competitive combo here. Some math on Lord of Virulence, the enemy being Contagion and the Tendrilous Emission. So here I have, for example, the very popular 30 Bloatron with a heavy blight launcher. This is shooting just baseline damage across the targets. It's not super impressive, but it's quite good for the 100 points. Here I don't include the blast extra shots. I have done that if you want to see in the 30 Bloatron review I made. If the enemy is in Contagion, we get a bit of increase, but the AP is already quite high on this on the Blight launcher here. If we have a Lord of Virulence Blight Bombardment, we get 33% more damage output across all targets. Basically, with a blast, we can reroll. We're hitting on 3s, rerolling everything, and we can also get a bit more lethal hits here. If we have the Blight Bombardment and the enemy is afflicted, we get higher damage, of course, because we also are benefiting from -1 save on the enemy. If we have rerolling 1s to wound on top, we can get with the enemy being afflicted with -1 save Contagion, Blight Bombardment from the Lord of Virulence, and rerolling 1s to wound, we get 60 to 90% more damage from the baseline, and we can, for example, with one, we should be able to almost kill a Rhino here. If we take, let's say, if we take the Lord of Virulence with the Tendrilous Emissions, we have 3 Bloatrons buzzing around him. The enemy is in Contagion, and not including the blast extra, we can get quite high damage here. So we could take out, with 3 of them, we should be able to take out a Land Raider, just barely. So a lot of damage can be done with blast. We should be able to kill even more infantry here, not shown. If we look at the Flavor Scroller, here I have when it has line of sight with Entropy and Slugger, and here we have the Flavor Scroller without line of sight. So this is basically the mortar shooting indirect, where the enemy gets the benefit of cover. Here having the enemy afflicted and being able also to have higher chance to deal the spore mortal wounds, we get 50% more damage output if the enemy is afflicted. If the Lord of Virulence can see it, and we have we can just shoot the mortar, the Flavor Scroller cannot see it. We also have a good damage increase. If we combine the enemy being at -1 save contagion, and the Lord of Virulence can see it with a blight bombardment, then we are doubling the damage output here, and we can do some damage. It's not like we will destroy huge units, but if we have the 3 Plague Scroller, they're firing the indirect mortar, and we have the combo of either contagion and then plus the Lord of Virulence spotting, we can kill, let's say, something like seven marine equivalents, and that could maybe take away your opponents. Maybe they have some small units that are holding their back home objectives. We could be tearing them down and creating some problems for our enemy. But it's okay, it's for 600 points, but you can get some utility out of it. A lot of opponents maybe are hiding a lot. You could be flushing them out with the mortars and the spores. And here we also see if the Plague Solo can see, of course, with Lord of Virulence spotting and Tendrilous Emission, we get much more damage than the baseline. And this will be the same case for any other of our vehicles, the Mephitic Blight Holder, the Defiler, and so on and so forth. Then for melee vehicles and Deathshroud, I haven't done the math on the Hellbrute yet. I'll probably look into that now because he has more attacks if he gets 2 melee weapons, but probably his durability is a bit slower. So if we look at the vehicles that have more in melee damage output, if we have a lot of shooting vehicles, maybe we need some melee capable vehicles. Here we have the Defiler with the claw in melee, and the enemy suffering -1 save contagion. We can do some damage. The claw is quite good against vehicles, not so much against the infantry. And here we see the average now damage versus infantry and vehicles, and this is point corrected to 100 points because the Defiler is 165 points. If we have also the Scourge weapon and we take only one of the shooting gun options and the other is the Scourge, we get better damage output, and we're starting to do quite a lot of damage versus heavy targets. The 30 blow drone with the mower, this is the damage that is expected. It's better versus infantry, and it's always interesting that to feel the mower drone. But we can see the Deathshroud with Lord of Contagion 3 or 6. The 6 is quite expensive, 410 points, but it's only 250 points for this combo. We get much higher damage compared to the vehicles here. So of course the Deathshroud, yeah, as I said, this combo is one of the strongest that we have in our book. But we have to think that also the Defiler, it's not only doing this melee damage, it can also shoot. It will also further benefit from Lord of Virulence and the Tendrilous Emissions potentially. And you could have a Defiler close to your Lord of Virulence. If people come close to be able to shoot at him, then the Defiler will probably do his job next turn here. And the Mower drone is a bit more faster and nimbler than the other units and can go places as well. But we have some melee options as well. So looking now at some example lists and Mortarions Hammer, in my meta-analysis I showed you also 2 lists there that have been also tournament winning or very successful. So I'm thinking something like we have the Lord of Virulence with a Tendrilous Emission. We have 2 units of 3 Deathshroud with a Lord of Contagion each for the Deepstriking. We have 3 30 blow drones with a launcher, probably will be keeping close to the Lord of Virulence here. 3 Mephitic Blight Holders. They can also, if they come close, they can do quite a lot of shooting damage versus vehicles. Then we have a Defiler that also can keep close here and or go forward and threaten in melee as well. And we have the Firebase of the 3 Plague Scrollers and some Poxwalkers to infiltrate. So an all-rounder here with Terminators and a lot of vehicles. And then Mortarions Hammer example list number 2. This is a really going vehicle, and this was posted on the Facebook as well, and I really like this list. So we have Lord of Virulence with Tendrilous Emissions, we have 3 launcher drones, we have 2 Mephitic Blight Holders, 3 Plague Scrollers, and 3 Defilers with Last Cannon and Scourge configuration. This is the even more anti-vehicle variant here, and we have 3 30 blow drones as well with speeder or mower. I think you can select here what is good. The speeder could also be good if you are facing more chaffy enemies, and the 10 Poxwalkers to screen a bit and infiltrate. And finally, I was thinking also about how can you have a detachment that's called Mortarions Hammer if Mortarion is not present? So let's think about a list here. So we add Mortarion here for 380 points. We have the Lord of Virulence with the Tendrilous Emission. We have the two units of 3 Deathshroud with Lord of Contagion. We keep the 30 Blowdowns with a launcher, and we have 1 Defiler, 1 Mephitic Blightholder, and 2 Plaguebearer Scrollers here, and Poxwalker. So now we have, let's say, 2 scary models on the table. We have the Plaguebearer Scrollers, we have the Deepstriking Deathshroud. So it could be fun to do, and Mortarion has some fun reactive abilities and fight on death and things like that. That could maybe make for a fun game. So reaching to the final summary and final thoughts of Mortarions Hammer, I think it is a strong detachment that let us focus or spam vehicles. The detachment rule is very strong for Deepstriking Deathshroud. The detachment also benefits the Plaguebearer Scroller indirect fire with the mortar and the spores and things like that. Lord of Virulence is really buffing all our shooting vehicles, and the Tendrilous Emission gives him lone operative and further rerolling ones to wound for vehicles, increasing their shooting damage even further. I think the stratagem to go through a terrain is really strong. For example, for a bulky defiler, advancing and shooting with vehicles is strong. There is some nice stratagems, and I think this will be the one I'll try next after putting now the Death Lords chosen for a small break. So this concludes the video. Let me know what you think, and have you tried Mortarions Hammer, and have you been happy with it? So if you like the video, please press like and subscribe. And as always, a very special thanks to all my YouTube member GeneralJannis supporters. I really appreciate all your support there. And with these words, GeneralJannis signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.